Let's be real, fame usually turns people into total divas. I've always wondered if these massive stars are actually as nice as they look, or if it's all just a PR stunt. When Halsey worked with BTS, she got a backstage pass to their real personalities. Her take on who's actually the most polite among them is a rare, honest look at their character that most fans never see. Ready to find out who truly impressed her? Let's get into the list. Number 7. Jimin. You know, when we talk about Jimin, most people immediately think of those impossible high notes or that fluid, contemporary dance style that seems to defy gravity. But what Halsey witnessed was something far more grounded and, frankly, quite rare in the ego-driven world of global pop music. What people rarely discuss is how Jimin's politeness isn't just a mask he puts on for the cameras. It's woven into his very DNA, manifesting as a deep-seated shyness that Halsey found incredibly endearing during their Boy With Love collaboration. I've spent hours analyzing behind-the-scenes footage, and I've realized that Jimin is the type of person who will apologize for things that aren't even his fault, constantly checking if everyone around him is comfortable before he even thinks about his own needs. If you think about it, this is no trivial matter when you're one of the most famous faces on the planet. At this point, I personally start to wonder how someone can maintain that level of genuine humility when millions of people are screaming your name every single day. It's almost like he's hyper-aware of his impact on others, choosing to radiate warmth rather than the coldness or diva behavior we often see from other A-listers. Halsey specifically mentioned how he was initially so reserved, almost as if he didn't want to overstep or make her feel pressured, which says a lot about his massive emotional intelligence. It's not just about saying thank you or bowing low, it's about that subtle energy he brings to a room, a sense of respect that feels almost old school in its sincerity. From a psychological standpoint, this kind of behavior acts as a social glue, making collaborators feel safe and valued, which is exactly why their chemistry on screen worked so well. I find myself getting a bit emotional just thinking about the pressure he must feel to be the nice one all the time, yet he does it with such grace that it feels completely effortless. It's a cultural phenomenon, really, seeing a superstar teach the rest of the world that being powerful doesn't mean you have to be loud or demanding. To me, Jimin proves that there is immense strength in gentleness, and honestly, that's a lesson the rest of the industry desperately needs to learn. It makes me wonder, if someone at the top of the world can be this kind, what's our excuse? Number 6. J-Hope. Now, let's talk about the man who literally carries the light of the group on his shoulders, Jungkook. Most fans see the bright smiles and the I'm your hope persona, but what Halsey really tapped into was his terrifyingly high level of professionalism that translates into a unique kind of politeness. What people rarely discuss is that J-Hope isn't just the mood maker by accident, he is the dance leader who holds everyone to a standard of perfection, and yet, Halsey noted that he never lets his authority turn into arrogance. During their collaboration, she saw a man who was the first to arrive and the last to leave, always making sure the guest star felt like the center of the universe. At this point, I personally start to wonder about the mental toll of being the sunshine in a room full of tired, overworked people. It's a specific brand of politeness where you sacrifice your own fatigue to keep the atmosphere positive for everyone else. If you think about it, this is no trivial matter because in the entertainment industry, when you're that talented, you're almost expected to be a little difficult, a little demanding, but Hoseok flips that script entirely. He treats the production staff with the same reverence he treats a global pop star like Halsey, and that kind of consistency is what separates a celebrity from a true professional. I've often found myself staring at the screen, questioning how he maintains that level of emotional labor without breaking. It's not just about being nice, it's about a deep-seated discipline that says, my talent doesn't give me the right to be disrespectful. His politeness is a shield and a bridge at the same time. It's a cultural masterclass in how to lead through kindness rather than fear. To see someone with his level of world-dominating success still bowing deeply and checking in on the well-being of a camera operator is genuinely moving. Honestly, seeing how much Halsey respected his work ethic makes me realize that J-Hope's true power isn't in his footwork, it's in the way he makes every person in his orbit feel like they actually matter. It's rare, it's raw, and frankly, it's why he's a cornerstone of that group's sanity. He isn't just polite because he has to be. He's polite because he understands the weight of human connection in an industry that often treats people like products. Number 5. Jin. You see, Jin is a fascinating study in character because he operates on a level of humility that almost feels contradictory to his worldwide handsome brand. And Halsey was one of the first Western artists to really see past the visual perfection to the man underneath. What people rarely discuss is how Jin uses his legendary dad jokes and self-deprecating humor not just to be funny, but as a sophisticated tool for politeness and social easing. By making himself the butt of the joke, he instantly removes the intimidation factor that comes with being a global superstar, making someone like Halsey feel immediately welcome in a high-pressure environment like a music video set. If you think about it, this is no trivial matter when you consider the strict social hierarchies in South Korea where, as the eldest member, Jin could easily demand a certain level of subservience. Instead, he chooses to be the most approachable person in the room. At this point, I personally start to wonder how much emotional energy it takes for him to constantly prioritize the comfort of others over his own ego, especially in an industry that usually rewards the loudest and most demanding personalities. I've seen clips of him subtly looking out for Halsey during their choreography rehearsals, making sure she had water or just a friendly nod of encouragement when the steps got complicated, and that level of awareness is something you can't fake for a camera. This isn't just about good manners, it's a profound psychological choice to remain grounded when the entire world is trying to put you on a pedestal. It makes me feel a mix of respect and honestly a bit of sadness, because we rarely see this kind of genuine altruism in Hollywood or the global music scene. Jin proves that you can be at the absolute top of the food chain and still treat every single human being with the same level of dignity and warmth. His politeness is a quiet, steady force that holds the group together, and seeing Halsey's genuine smile whenever she's around him tells you everything you need to know about his impact. It's a cultural bridge built on respect, and frankly, if more people in power acted like Jin, the world would be a much better place. He doesn't need to act like a star because he knows who he is, and that kind of confidence manifested through kindness is the ultimate form of class. Number 4. V. When you look at V, it's incredibly easy to get lost in that once-in-a-generation face, but what Halsey discovered was a level of emotional depth and politeness that transcends mere language barriers. What people rarely discuss is that V isn't just polite in the traditional or rehearsed sense, he's profoundly present in every moment, which is perhaps the highest form of respect you can give another human being. During the high-pressure filming of their music video, while everyone else was understandably focused on the grueling choreography and technical cues, V was the one making consistent, direct eye contact with Halsey, ensuring she felt like a true equal partner rather than just a featured guest artist. If you think about it, this is no trivial matter because, in the whirlwind of a high-budget global production, it is so easy to treat collaborators like props or temporary additions, but V treats every single interaction like a meaningful exchange of souls. At this point, I personally start to wonder if his unique brand of politeness comes from that old soul wisdom he seems to carry. A groundedness that likely stems from his humble beginnings and his deep love for his family. I've watched him interact with fans, world leaders, and production staff alike, and there's this consistent, gentle curiosity in his eyes that screams sincerity. It's almost confrontational how kind he is. It actually makes you question why so many other celebrities find it so difficult to be basic-level decent to the people they work with. Halsey has gone on record multiple times saying how much she treasures her friendship with him, and you can see the evidence in their comfort level. He doesn't just bow because he was taught to do so in a training room. He bows because he genuinely values the human life standing in front of him. From a cultural and social standpoint, V represents a massive shift in what it means to be a cool, global icon. He proves that you can be edgy, fashion, forward, and incredibly famous without ever losing that soft, polite, and respectful core. It's honestly refreshing and, quite frankly, a bit overwhelming to see someone so heavily guarded by fame still remain so vulnerable and kind to a stranger-turned-friend. I find myself getting a bit frustrated when people misinterpret his quiet nature as being aloof because they clearly haven't seen the way he carefully navigates the feelings of those around him to ensure no one feels left out. This isn't just a clever PR move or a character he plays for the cameras. It's the quiet, undeniable confidence of a man who knows that being polite is the ultimate sign of internal strength. Halsey didn't just find a world-class collaborator in V. She found a new standard for how superstars should treat each other on the global stage. And that's a legacy that will last much longer than any #1 hit on the charts. Number 3. Kim Namjoon. When we look at the guy who basically carries the weight of a whole nation's cultural reputation on his shoulders, it's hard not to be intimidated. But what Halsey realized very quickly was that Kim Namjoon's politeness is an entirely different beast altogether. What people rarely discuss is the sheer mental exhaustion of being the designated bridge between two completely different worlds. Yet Namjoon never let that pressure manifest as irritability or impatience during their time together. I've watched countless interviews where he's literally translating complex thoughts for 6 other guys, while simultaneously making sure his guest, Halsey, feels heard and included. And that level of multitasking requires a type of politeness that goes beyond simple etiquette. It's a form of high-level emotional labor. If you think about it, this is no trivial matter because he could have easily let his ego take over as the brain of the operation, but instead, he chose to use his intellect to protect and serve the group and their collaborator. At this point, I personally start to wonder how he manages to stay so incredibly grounded when he's the one dealing with the most intense scrutiny from global media and political figures. Halsey often spoke about how he made her feel like she truly belonged in their space, which is a testament to his inclusive leadership style that feels more like a warm embrace than a professional contract. From a social and cultural perspective, Namjoon has redefined what it means to be a modern leader. He shows us that true power doesn't come from dominating the conversation, but from creating a space where everyone else can thrive. I find myself getting almost defensive when people simplify his role to just being the one who speaks English, because that completely ignores the profound psychological strength it takes to remain that humble when the pine on métier, this a pabli.01. The world is calling you a genius every 5 minutes. It's a rare, almost stoic kind of kindness that makes me feel both inspired and a little worried for him. How much of himself does he have to set aside to be this perfect for everyone else? His politeness isn't a performance, it's a deliberate daily choice to lead with empathy, and seeing the genuine respect Halsey has for him proves that his impact goes far beyond music. He isn't just the leader of a band, he's a leader of a movement that prioritizes human dignity, and frankly, we need more of that Namjoon energy in every room where decisions are made. Number 2, Jungkook. You look at this guy and you see the golden maknae, the man who can do literally everything. But what Halsey saw was someone who seemed almost oblivious to his own status as a global god. What people rarely discuss is the sheer absurdity of someone this famous still bowing 90 degrees to every single staff member on a set, even after hours of grueling work. During the filming with Halsey, it wasn't just about the professional smiles, it was the way he treated the space around him. I've seen behind-the-scenes footage where he's literally picking up trash or helping the crew move equipment when he should be resting. If you think about it, this is no trivial matter because we are talking about a guy who could probably buy the entire studio 10 times over, yet he acts like he's the newest intern on the block. At this point, I personally start to wonder if his politeness is a survival mechanism he developed by growing up in front of the world since he was just 15 years old. He didn't have a normal childhood, he had a training room and a camera lens, and somehow, instead of turning into a spoiled brat, he became the blueprint for humility. It's almost confrontational to watch. It makes you look at your own life and ask why we find it so hard to be kind when he makes it look like breathing. Halsey mentioned how he was so sweet and respectful, almost as if he was shy to even be in her presence, which is just wild when you realize he's one of the most searched humans on Earth. From a psychological standpoint, this kind of behavior is a massive shield against the star disease that destroys so many young talents. He stays grounded because he refuses to believe his own hype. If you look at the cultural impact, Jungkook is literally teaching an entire generation of fans that being cool doesn't mean being distant or arrogant. No, it means being the person who cares enough to stay late and thank the person holding the microphone. I'll be honest, sometimes it feels like he's too polite, to the point where I worry if he ever lets himself just be important for a second. But that's the magic of Jungkook, isn't it? He doesn't want to be important, he wants to be helpful. And seeing the way Halsey looks at him like a proud older sister tells you everything you need to know. It's not a PR move, it's a soul that hasn't been corrupted by the glitter and the gold. Truly, if there's anyone who deserves the crown, it's the guy who's too busy bowing to notice he's already wearing it. Number 1. Suga. People always look at Suga and see this cold, untouchable rapper who spits fire on stage. But if you listen to Halsey talk about him, you realize that the man behind the Suga mask, Min Yoongi, is perhaps the most profoundly polite human being she has ever encountered. What people rarely discuss is that politeness isn't always about the biggest smile or the loudest greeting. Sometimes, the most sincere form of respect is actually found in the quiet moments where you truly acknowledge another person's artistry and boundaries. I remember when Halsey first mentioned how she felt a deep connection with him, calling him a twin soul, and it hit me this isn't just about two stars making a hit. It's about a man who treats everyone with a level of dignity that is so rare, it's almost shocking. At this point, I personally start to wonder if we've all been misinterpreting his introverted nature for years. Because when you look at how he handled their collaboration on Suga's interlude, he didn't try to dominate the track or the space. He approached her work with a level of reverence that many Western artists simply don't have. If you think about it, this is no trivial matter because, in the world of hip-hop and global pop, ego is usually the currency of choice, yet Suga chooses a currency of quiet, unwavering respect. I find it absolutely fascinating that the member who often speaks the least is the one who Halsey feels most understood by, proving that his politeness is something that is felt rather than just heard. It's a cultural masterclass in how to be a gentleman without the performance. He doesn't need to perform for the cameras because his actions, the way he listens, the way he steps back to let others shine, and the way he honors the craft speak louder than any PR scripted apology ever could. To be honest, I used to be one of those people who thought he was just the grumpy one, but seeing his interaction with Halsey made me feel a bit ashamed of my own judgment. He teaches us that being polite means protecting the energy of the people around you. His politeness is a choice of maturity, a result of his long, hard road from the streets of Daegu to the Grammys, and that kind of lived-in respect is something you can't fake. Halsey didn't just find a collaborator, she found a friend who understands that sometimes the most polite thing you can do is just be real, stay humble, and keep your word. It's a powerful, quiet legacy that makes him, in my eyes and clearly in Halsey's, the absolute gold standard of what it means to be a decent human being in an industry designed to make you anything but.